Welcome to Mission 3, Store Operator. In this mission, we are going to be learning how to operate on variables, which means how to add, subtract, multiply, and or divide. The first step that we want to do is we want to download a file. Go down to the mission task area and click here to download. You are going to be downloading a folder full of assets and resources such as the graphics, the font, and the project that you'll be operating on. To download the project, you'll need to go to the Store Operator area on the top navigation part of Google Drive. Find the upside down caret symbol to pull down the menu so that you can download it. Now Google Drive is preparing the download and zipping the file. And eventually it's going to ask you to save a zip file in a particular location. Very similar, like in previous missions, you would want to save your file either in your documents folder or in your desktop folder. So let me find my desktop area. And there's a lot of characters at the end. We don't need that. And we are going to download and realize we are downloading a zip file. Alright, so we got downloaded to the desktop. And the Store Operator is here. And let me change the settings of this desktop here because it's aligning the icons and I want to move it freely. Okay, so what you see here is a folder with the zipper icon on it. And this is what you call a zip file. And what a zip file is, you have all the files compressed into one file. You want to unzip it and get it out of the zip file. So we are going to open the zip file. And what we see here is the folder Store Operator. We are going to drag the Store Operator onto our desktop or onto our Documents folder. And it will make a copy of it onto our desktop or Documents folder. Now we have our Store Operator folder here and the Store Operator zip file. We can delete this so that it doesn't get too confusing. And now the next step is we are ready to import the Godot file for you to work on. So let's open Godot up. I'm going to remove the Store Operator file project here so it doesn't confuse you. But what we're going to do is we are going to import the file, or import the file in the folder. And so we're going to find that folder. Again, your folder is either in the Documents folder or on your desktop. So let's browse for that folder. And once you find your Store Operator folder, there is project.godot. You're going to open that file up and press import and edit. When you open up project.godot within the Store Operator folder, what you'll see in the file system or resource area is you'll see a folder that will say font and you'll see a folder that says graphics. You'll be using these two folders and the resources inside of these folders to create the store. The first step that we're going to be doing is we are going to create a node, a 2D scene. And we are going to name this 2D scene Store Operator Scene. The next step we're going to do is we are going to import a sprite. So let's create a child node type in sprite in the search area and click on sprite. Let's name this dialog box. And now let's import the graphics dialog box into the sprite. And again, you're going to click on the graphics, the dialogbox.png, and drag it to the textures area in the inspector dock. All right. Once you get your cursor with the dialog box there, let go. Your dialog box will appear on your screen. That's one way of doing that as well. Another way of dropping in your dialog box into your scene is by clicking on the dialog box and placing it also in your scene as well. And that will do the exact same thing, just make sure the name is consistent as well. I'm going to zoom out so that we see the game room, and again we're going to be using this pink purple boundary right here as the size of the game room. We can resize this dialog box to your liking, or you can press shift to resize it proportionally. Alright, and place it in the center right there. The next step is we're going to be importing another sprite called New, which is a little character from one of my favorite games, Chrono Trigger. And we're going to import it by dragging the graphics into the scene right here. Okay, but realize it's creating a child node of the dialog box. That we do not want to do just yet. And if you have graphics being the child of other graphics, what this will do is the dialog box will control the size and the movement of another sprite that it's childed to. Okay, and so just for organization's sake, just make sure that there's no childing of resources just yet. To move the new outside of the dialog box, click on new, and you'll see a line above the dialog box. Let go, and now the dialog box is not the child of new anymore, and they're both separate entities. But realize that the new character is right behind the dialog box, and so there is a layer feature happening here. So if I press the new character and place that below the dialog box, make sure that there's a line below the dialog box. New is in front of the dialog box, and that's where we want that character to be. Okay. The next step is we are going to create some texture buttons. Click on the store operator scene, and let's make another child node. And let's type in texture button. A texture button is a regular old button, but we can place graphics on there or any textures. Press create, and let's name this texture button Apple button. Alright, and so there is a textures drop down menu here. Okay, we're gonna open that drop down menu, and there's a couple of selections: normal, press, hover, disabled, focus, and click mask. And what this says is if we press, if we have the Apple button here, which is right there's no Apple just yet, it's gonna show a sprite. So we're gonna find the Apple sprite, click on the Apple sprite, hold down and drag to the normal area under textures, and let go. Now that button becomes an apple. Okay, we are going to do the same thing to the other fruits that we have in our graphics. So just for speed, I'm going to make duplicates of this texture button. You can right click and make a duplicate of it, and make sure that we rename it. And name this button, but not button. And let's call this the cherry button. And we are going to import the cherry under textures. So I'm going to drag cherry to the normal area, let go, and it will replace that the apple. Okay. And let's do the same thing for watermelon. Make a duplicate. Move it right there, and let's import the watermelon sprite or watermelon graphics into the normal part of the watermelon button. And the last one, let's get two more in. We have the strawberry as well. Let's make a duplicate of this. Rename this strawberry button. Move that right there. All right. So some of these graphics might be a little too big. Buttons, you can resize the button, but you can't resize the graphics inside of it the normal way with these handles. So if you want to resize the graphics, you want to scroll down. Find an area where it says, I think, rectangle right here, and what we can do is we can scale it by percentage. And as you saw, I accidentally dragged something here, but I can scale it by 50%, which makes it smaller on the X and Y axis. Alright, and we get small graphics. Or we could enlarge it by 2 and then makes it bigger by 2. So that's a way for you to resize these graphics here. Okay, so I did my best to size it for you all so that you don't have to do that. But if these graphics are too big, again, click on the button, go to the inspector dock area, and scroll down until you see REC or rect, and scroll down until you see scale, and make sure that you adjust the scale of it. Okay. I think that's the best way to do that. You can also adjust it using the size if you want some preciseness, but for the sake of this exercise, you don't have to be as precise. All right, now we have our fruits and our buttons, and the last sprite that the last button that we want is the ATM button. So we are going to duplicate this, and we will call this the ATM button. And we're going to place the ATM button right there. So let's find the ATM graphics here. Make sure that button is selected. And let's drag the ATM button to the normal area right here. Now we have an ATM. So this is a great example to resize it. We're going to scroll down, go to rect, and resize it. Put this to 50% its size, 0.5, 0.5, oops, that's 40, 0.5, great, place it right there. All right, now we have the scene here. Now, we are going to be placing a couple of labels here so that we know what these buttons do. Okay, so we are going to place what we call a dialog label. So let's click on the store operator scene, click on creating a child node, and let's search for a label. Press label here, and let's name this label as dialog. And don't get this too confused with dialog box. Alright, dialog is the label, so look at the icon. And if you hover over this, it will let you know it's a label. Okay. Alright, so let's find that dialog box and let's position it inside of the dialog box sprite. Right there. And in the text area, for now, we are going to type in, this is the dialogue. So we know where the text is going to be located at. We can align it to the center if we want to. And we want to auto wrap it so that it doesn't go beyond the constraints or the size of this dialogue label. Alright, so the next step is we want to change the font. Unlike Google Docs and Microsoft Word, we can select the font by going to a menu and select the font. In Godot, we need to download a font online, place it inside of our project folder in order for us to set the font. So a lot of things about Godot is manual, as with any programming. Programming is a manual facet of this job. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on dialog, make sure dialog is chosen, and I'm gonna close this graphics folder in the resource area and go to font. And there is a font here called launchds.ttf. And so we are going to be in a similar way how we place these pictures on these buttons. We're going to be dragging this font to a property of the dialog label. So let's go down and let's find custom font. And we're going to click on font, and we are going to select new dynamic font and click on dynamic font again, and we have a bunch of settings here. Drop down the font selection right here, and there's font data. Here is where you drag the font into this area where it says empty. If we let go, we see that the font has changed. And with this font comes the settings. And now you can increase the font, decrease the size of the font, change the color of the font, I think. Oh no, this is not for color. This is the outline color. If you decide to do an outline. So there's a lot of features that you can do. Extra spacing, character spacing, and so forth. Or space right there. Alright, so customize this label to your liking for now. Let me put everything back to its default because I don't want too much spacing. And I don't want an outline color. And I'm going to set this the size of this dialog to, I think, 24 for now. Alright, so that's how you set your dialog box. Now that you have your dialog box here, we're going to set more labels here. So we are going to set what we call a money display. Okay, so right here, in a similar light, we are going to right click on dialog, make a duplicate because we get to keep the font and we won't have to set the font up again. I'm going to place it right here, but I'm going to change this to money display so we know what this is. Feel free to change the size of the font or the position, but that's where we'll find it. And let's call this money display here. Let's make a duplicate of this label, and we'll call this Apple cost label. Alright, and since we made a duplicate, we'll just move it up. Let's change this to Apple cost label and place it right above the apple so we know where it's at. Make a couple more duplicates. Strawberry cost label. That's the name of that label. Drop that one down, find the strawberry. Maybe position the strawberry a little bit. duplicate that label. Cherry cost label is the next one. Rename the label. And the last one, actually we got a couple more. Make a duplicate of that. And the watermelon cost label. Change the text. And the last one, the ATM. Make a duplicate. ATM label. Drag it down here and change it to and for this one, since this text is not going to be changed through the script, we're just going to give it some instructions. Say click here to get money. All right, and we have set up our scene. We can move things around here. I'm going to adjust a couple things, but we have set up our scene for this program. And in the next phase, we are now going to be putting some instructions into a number of these buttons so that they are able to function. In this phase, we are now going to be working on the script for the store operator scene. Let's select the store operator scene node and let's press create script. Keep all the settings here to their default and press create. Now we have our store operator scene script in front of us. Above function ready, we are going to be declaring some variables. So let's work on that. I'm going to put a comment here so I know what I'm doing, declaring and initializing some variables. And as a reminder, what that means is you are going to be naming the variable, such as var money, and assigning that variable a value, which is going to be an integer. Let's make some more variables for the apple cost. Set that one to 50. Cherry cost 75. Strawberry cost 25. Watermelon cost 150. And bank 100. Now let's go into our function ready. Now again, what function ready is, when you play the scene, the script will start to operate automatically. All right, so but the function of function ready for this particular program is to make sure that we are displaying data on the scene. So I'm gonna put a comment here, and it will say display cost of fruits and money on the scene. All right, so let me type this one up. We are going to access money display. text, and we're going to associate it with money colon plus string money. Okay, let's see what that does. Okay, let me delete this function process here because we will not be using that. But let's see what this does. We are going to be accessing money display.text, and we are going to be associating it with a string, money plus string money, which means it's going to display money colon and display the cost, not money, not a cost, but display how much money you have. Okay, so if I play the scene, okay, money 1,000. Okay, money 1,000. Okay, so we are now going to do the same thing for the fruits as well. Apple cost label dot text equals plus string, and the variable for that one is apple cost. Okay, and to shortcut this process, all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight line number 14, press copy, because all we're going to do is we're going to replace it with the cherry cost label and cherry cost as well. Okay, so this will accelerate this process here. And just make sure you replace the label, or else you'll get different values. Cherry cost label, select that one, and cherry cost variable. Oops, let me try that one up again. Cherry cost, there you go. And then copy that and paste that, and let's work on the strawberry. And this is why labeling your nodes is so important, because now you are able to identify and use it quickly. So strawberry cost label and strawberry cost. And now, in addition to labeling your nodes, also giving each of the variables an appropriate name. So don't be lazy and not name them, or name them something inappropriate to a point where you don't know what the label or what the variable does. Okay, so name them appropriately. Let's see, strawberry cost. And let's paste that one, and let's do watermelon. Cost label. And watermelon cost. All right, so let's see what this whole thing does here. Let me play the scene. Oh, there is an error here somewhere on line number 16. Let's see where that one's at. Oh, I mistyped the name of the label. Okay, I think that should be fixed. And let's replay the scene. And now we have the cost of each of the fruits above the fruit. Okay, you can reposition each of these costs, or each of these labels, at a later time, but at least you have the cost of each fruit on each label. In this final phase, we are going to be programming each of these fruit buttons to a point where if we click on the fruit, okay, then money will decrease by 50. If we press on the cherry, money will decrease by 75. Same thing with the watermelon for 150, and for the strawberry, decreased by 25. Okay, and then we have our ATM machine, which will give us money, so we can add by $100. Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing. Let's click out of the scene. All right, and now what's going to happen is we are going to be sending a signal to the store operator scene, because each of these are buttons. And when you have a button, there is a signal that needs to happen between the button and the store operator scene so that the script works. So let's work on the Apple first. Let's go to the Nodes tab or the Nodes dock and press pressed. When you press the button, it's going to do something. Let's connect it to the store operator scene. These are things that you have done in the last learning quest. Alright, and now we have a function on the bottom that says function on Apple press. In this function, we are going to decrease the amount of money by how much the Apple costs. So we are going to be typing in money and assigning that a value of money, the existing current money, which is $1,000, minus the cost of the cherry, or cherry cost. Okay, so kind of think about it in this way, and I'm going to put a comment here, but do not copy this. If the existing money, or the current amount of money, is $1,000, and you decrease the amount of money by how much the cherry costs, which is 75, the new value of the money will be assigned to the variable, which is, I think, 925. Okay. Now money is now 925. Okay, but now if you press Apple cost again, I'm sorry, not Apple cost, cherry cost. I placed cherry cost instead, so instead it's 950. Apologies about that. And if you press the Apple again, you're not going to decrease by using the old amount of money, which is $1,000, okay? Because the current amount of money right now is 950. So 950 minus 50, okay? Now the current value, the new value, is 900, okay? And so realize the old value gets deleted when it's operated on, the old value of the variable. So the second thing here is, this is one way of writing this out. There's another way of writing this out, and which is money minus equals cherry cost. Both line 21 and 22 are the same way of writing it out. So regardless if you use this or that, it doesn't really matter. I tend to use this because it's less characters to write out, but it doesn't really matter. So I'll keep it as that for now. Okay, once we get once we operate on the money variable, okay, now we have to display the new value to the label. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna access money display dot text and make sure that equals, or we assign it to money, and I think it's the same script as here as well, so I could copy that and paste that here, because we are just displaying now, or updating the label. Okay, so what this looks like if I play the scene, okay, and I click on Apple. Apple decreases by 75. What did I just do? Let's see. I said cherry cost. That's why. Let's say Apple cost. There we go. Let's try this one out. If I click on the apple, I decrease by 50. The new value is now 950. I decrease that, 900, and so forth. All right, so we got the apple set up. Let's set up the other fruits as well, and it's going to have a very similar format. So let's send some signals to the store operator scene. Let's work on the cherry button. Go to the nodes, pressed, send the signal. Okay, and let's just make this nice right here. And I'm going to copy this script here, and I'm going to replace some variables and some labels here. So just to accelerate this process, so money equals money minus, instead of apple cost, it's going to be cherry cost. Money display dot text equals money colon plus string, and the variable we'll be using is cherry cost, or you can copy this. Actually, you will not copy this because you're updating the money. So it'll be money display.text equals money plus string money. Okay, so we'll keep it as that because we are just updating the money label. We're not updating the apple cost or any of these labels. Okay, all right, so let's see, there's an error right there. Great, we corrected that. And let's send the signal using the watermelon, strawberry, and ATM. ATM will be a tad bit different. Select the watermelon button, press. Send the signal. Copy the script. Paste it in line 29. Instead cherry cost, it'll be watermelon. Cost. Okay, and line 30 will be the same. And let's send the signal using the strawberry. Copy that. Paste it. And strawberry cost. And the last one is the ATM button. Just kind of realize that apple, cherry, watermelon, and strawberry, those items, you're decreasing money. But for the ATM, you're gaining money. So it's going to look a tad bit different. So let's see what the difference is. Let's have it so that we're sending a press signal to the store operator scene. Let's do that, same exact thing. But this time, copy the script. We're going to be adding some money. So instead of money minus strawberry cost, it's money plus, and we're going to be using the variable bank. We're going to be gaining $100 every single time. So bank. All right, and I don't know what this is. Replace. There we go. And I think that should work. Okay, so let's try this one out. Press play scene, and let's make sure each of the buttons work. I decrease by 50. That goes down by 50. I click on the cherry. It decreases by 75. Decreases by 75. Click on the watermelon. It should decrease by 150. Decreases by 150. And the same thing with the strawberry. Decreases by 25. It decreases by 25. Okay, so we got the fruits all working. Now let's work on the ATM machine. If I click on the ATM machine, increase by 100. Increase by another 100. All right. Cool. So the last step is let's fix up. This is the dialog here, and make sure the dialog box says something appropriate. So let's go to the dialog box here and let's say, what do you want to buy? There we go. And that is how you create a mini store in this mission. Okay, now what you are going to do is you're going to find some items on your own. You're going to replace the items that you see on the screen. You're going to replace the apple, the cherry, the strawberry, and the watermelon. You're going to replace the labels with a different name and a different item. And you're going to replace the cost. Okay, you might want to replace the cost of the money display. You might want to replace the variables and how much value they give or they delete. Alright, so you are going to customize this store to your liking. And once you are done, you're going to press scene and save all scenes. And that is how you do mission number 3, Store Operator.